What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of a Thinking Man's podcast on the Muscle Media Network. If you're watching now on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave us a comment, share it with a friend, ring the bell so that you're notified every time we post a new video. It's multiple times a week. As always, this episode is brought to you by Kodiak Bodybuilding Apparel. Train hard, die strong. Thanks to Chris for supporting the show, supporting the channel. I'm rocking my Kodiak shirt right now, actually. And today, my good friend Tommy Styles and I, we're going to be bringing a little bit of a hybrid episode. I think at first we are going to discuss contest prep drugs, tricks, orals, different observations that we've made and things that we like to do personally when it comes time to prep for a show. And then if that doesn't run too long, we're probably going to get to a couple physique critiques for anybody that doesn't know or hasn't been listening. We have a private Facebook group for the Muscle Media Network, so go join that. In there, if you submit your check-in photos or progress photos, Tommy and I will eventually pull it up and review your physique and give you feedback on the show. Tommy, what are we thinking? Any tricks, any things that you like? Maybe outside of the box, contest prep wise.
Well, the biggest thing to make sure of is that what you're taking is what you think you're taking. So
True.
anybody who doesn't think fake gear is the thing is living under a rock. So
Especially with orals.
Make sure your source is legit.
Yeah.
Don't ask me where, don't ask Joe where. Put on your big boy pants, figure your shit out. What do I like? So in a contest prep, I mean, there's ways you can break it down depending on how far you start out. So if the first leg of the prep, if you started your prep in a good spot, lean, you had a good off season, you didn't get fat, I think that lends a time to where you could throw in something like a D-ball to push size as you're dropping food initially. Maybe run that till however long out you're still, because I break prep down into phases. So that first 6 weeks of a contest prep, I don't really look at it as like hard or shredding or anything like that. You're just probably recomping.
Yeah.
Probably if you did an off season right, you're enjoying the reduction in food.
Yeah.
I know I am. And then when we get into like the nitty gritty of it, I like Anavar. I really like Anavar in a contest prep because for me, I've always noticed a boost in training performance. Like if I take an Anavar, I'm stronger in the gym that day.
Yep.
So that's also why I don't care for it in the off season, because it's just unnecessary wear and tear on your body when you should be strong anyway from food. So Anavar in a contest prep, probably anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks out. But you can kind of gauge it based off where you notice that dip in training performance. Dosing, I mean, I think you could 25 to 50 milligrams is probably for a male. I'll preface that. Females would be a completely different approach. But with males, I think 25 to 50. It can do a number on the lipid panel, so maybe keep an eye on that if you know you're somebody who reacts poorly to orals. That's something to take into consideration. But yeah, I like Anavar. What are your thoughts on it? The first two.
Yeah, I love both ideas, honestly. The first one, maybe a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, I would have been like, what? D-ball and prep. But you kind of break into new levels of bodybuilding, and you see there's just a million ways to skin a cat, especially for each varying degree of muscularity or experience that person has. So in that situation, like you said, like somebody had a great off season, they're carrying a good amount of muscle, they're still pretty lean, like the lower back is in a good spot, their glutes are still in a pretty good spot. Yeah, like that first 6 weeks, like you're going to be losing fat and looking better, but then training should still be excellent. It's still on a relative scale, plenty of food. And then that D-ball can really help keep like a fullness. And in a lot of people too, I think it does help with training performance or aggression. It helps with pumps. The only thing I would say is it wrecks some people's appetite. That's not necessarily a terrible thing in contest prep, but I've know of people that they wouldn't be able to get half of their meals in on D-ball. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then it's not for you. But I love the idea of it, especially with where you've like if you've had a good off season. Anavar is kind of like my go-to contest prep, like getting into the nitty gritty of it, like you said. Out of the other oral options, at least, because like you said, it's maybe the most obvious in terms of training performance, like upholding that training performance, while also probably being the least toxic in terms of the other one. Like Halo has always drastically brought my training back to life deep in a prep, but you're not running that for 8 or 10 weeks. If you have any idea of what you're doing or any hopes of living past 35. But yeah, I think in terms of like dosing for that or for both, I think like 20 milligrams of D-ball would probably be plenty. Because at that early stage of prep too, if you did have the good off season, you do have a pretty decent amount of muscle. Your cycle in terms of your injectables is probably going to look pretty similar or exactly the same as what it was for the off season.
Yep.
So it's not going to take much. And then with the Anavar, like 20 or 25 to 50 should be more than like real Anavar, man. Like I've never really the couple times that I knew I had real Anavar, I didn't need more than 25 a day. I've seen people and heard people talk about 50 a day, 100 a day, and that almost makes me wonder if they're even getting a real product. But yeah, I'm totally agreeing with that. And then to add my own little spice to the kitchen, I'm a huge fan, especially for guys that tend to be a little bit watery from like, maybe if you aromatize a little bit more than most, or you get kind of a watery response from either testosterone or growth hormone. For those guys, I love using a lot of Proviron in prep, to where like I will probably have like a set DHT total to start the prep. Like let's say, for an experienced high level bodybuilder, let's say just for example, you're using 700 milligrams of Masteron at the early stages of your prep. I might pull half of that out and replace that same total with just oral Proviron, because then you're talking just straight DHT. For those guys that I'm talking about, it just seems, it sounds bro, but I'm talking from a place of many years of experience. It brings about a different look, and it can just be a really nice thing in contest prep. It pulls a lot of water out of guys, and then as a coach, it gives you a really good chance to make accurate assessments then during the prep and the photos.
Yeah, no, I love Proviron. Same thing. I think it's you just have a more polished look to your muscle when you
Yes.
when you get Proviron in play, is what I've noticed with myself.
Yeah.
Just cleaner separation, lines are harder.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have you're a little bit blurrier with your separation without Proviron, at least my experience. So I like it. Now, where do you stand with Winstrol? Because that's one that I can say, as soon as I start taking it, I visually notice it within like half a week.
Me too. I'm in the same. And for the guys that don't feel any ill effects in their joints, if it just depends. There's so many drugs that are going on in contest prep. If we're talking about like competitive bodybuilding, let's be frank, there's a lot of different shit going in, and it can be difficult to say what is causing what. We could say that we could say that the Winstrol does a number on your joints, but then also those same guys that say that are taking 3 milligrams of Arimidex a week, and it's like, well, you've tanked your estrogen. No wonder your joints feel like shit. I'm with you. Those are the two, like, more so for me. I mentioned Anavar, and I love Anavar more so for the training aspect of it. But then in terms of like visuals, the big three for me are Proviron, Winstrol, and then at the very, very end, Halo has always been a very obvious visual difference maker as well. But I love it. I love Winstrol. I think you, depending on how you're organizing everything else, you can I'm speaking solely for males at this point, by the way. I start seeing a good visual return at 20 or 25 milligrams. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've gone beyond that. I've gone up to 100 milligrams a day of Winstrol deep in contest prep, and it only looks like it makes me better. I might feel worse, but in contest prep, a lot of times, unless there's something like wrong with your health where you feel like you need to go to the hospital or something, the worse you feel, the better you look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you absolutely need to be supporting your liver with a lot of health supplements in a contest prep, to be taking all these things. I mean, I'll plug Leviathan. They make a TUDCA that they release their third-party testing on every batch. So I was taking 1,200 milligrams of that probably the last 8 weeks. A stale liver that's not moving prevents fat loss. So very important to keep your liver moving in a contest prep. And obviously orals is going to cause stress on the liver, which will cause it to slow it down. So these health supplements play just as much of a role as the fun stuff. So don't go cheap when it comes to, one, on your health. It's going to affect your look too. I just throw that little bit in there, but
yeah, you see a stressed body. You see it. We've all seen it on stage. We've seen a guy that has a stressed body, and like
liver and kidneys,
overly drugged up body. You see it with their skin or whatever. But yeah, totally agree. And I think too, one other little caveat I want to add to that too is like, to what degree you use these oral drugs is also, where do your lipids and your general blood markers, where do they stand normally or before prep? Like, did you go get blood work before prep and everything was great? Well, then you're probably someone that has a little bit more room, as long as you are staying up on supplementing with the over-the-counter health supplement stuff. That's somebody that can kind of push the envelope a little bit. Now, there are guys that are just genetically predisposed to having shitty lipids or whatever the case is, and then you have to be a little bit more careful.
Or just shitty drug metabolism in general. I mean,
sure, yeah.
Side effects are part of the game, but if you're someone who gets to decide on the smallest dose, that's just the hand you were dealt.
Yeah.
But with Winstrol, yeah, I think 25 is a great starting dose, especially if you've never run it before. You might not even to go much higher than that. 50 is kind of like that benchmark. I feel like most preps that I work with my guys, they end up at 50. I've pushed to 100. I think I've even pushed as high as 150 for a small little stretch of the final week of a show. But again, context is king. I've got multiple shows and multiple years in. That was also going to the national level. That's not something you need to do for your first show, your second show, like early on in your career. You're not there yet. You got to climb the ladder. But yeah, Winstrol, I've seen this in numerous clients, and I always see it myself. When that gets added, a visual change will be in play the next update that I see, either myself or a client. So I use that as an ace in the deck. That's a tool in the toolbox. I don't like to throw that one in super early. I think the earliest I throw it in now with guys is like 7 weeks out. But you could go even later. I mean, you could push that to 4 to 5 weeks out if you know how you respond to it already. Because for me, I do notice a huge, not a huge, but I do notice a dip in my pressing strength when I take Winstrol. That's probably just being in a caloric deficit and everything else that's already being used. So I don't like knowing what I get from it visually and how it's going to make me harder. And, if you look at the medical use of it, it does have diuretic properties. So it makes sense that what we see visually is harder, drier physique. I don't like to spend a ton of time on it because it doesn't help me with training performance. So,
Right.
but maybe pairing that and Anavar together is how you combat that. Then you're taking 2 orals at once. So again, contest prep is where the chemistry comes in of like, that's probably the most important part of a prep is making sure you have a good drug cycle design and your drugs are what you think they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with that. I think too there could be something depending on what other drugs you've chosen to take during the prep. Like, yeah, we're talking about now probably being on multiple orals at once, but like this is for the most 4 or 6 important weeks of your entire year. I think we probably both agree as a general statement, neither of us outside of like very specific scenarios really are trying to program or recommend orals in the off season at all. So it's like those are truly ace cards that we're saving for, your most important month and a half of the whole year. If you really love bodybuilding and you care enough to go through a prep and get on stage, and they do make a difference. It's something that it's situational use. You're not going to stay on them after the prep. There are things, if it does skew the blood work and it's specific to the use of those drugs, not to minimize the risk, but then that's a pretty easy fix then once it comes out. But yeah, and then so what about at the very end? Are you a Halo fan?
I became a fan this year. Before that, I never could tell. So I was just like,
Yeah.
so much other shit was in play. But
Yeah.
I did notice the differences in training.
Yeah.
I think dose is important.
Yeah.
Depending on how long you're going to run it.
Yes.
I probably wouldn't run it longer than 3 weeks going into a show.
Agreed.
And if you have multiple shows set up, you just kind of have to look at your setup and realize like, all right, if I have 2 weeks between a show, I'm going to pull it out for that week after the first show and then put it back in. There just has to be breaks with these orals. I mean, same thing with all of Winstrel, Anavar, you could probably use less of or pull completely going into your show run.
Yep.
Like I think I pulled Anavar after my first show this year. We just stuck to the other orals and injectables, Tren and Masteron.
Because at that point, training wise, you're just doing what you can anyway. You're not maintaining the blood work at that point. Yeah. So then it's like it makes sense then to save it for the visual drugs more so.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Halo. Again, that's something that I wouldn't use that on a first prep. I probably wouldn't use that on a second. Like that's more of like you've got a bit of muscle. You're committed to bodybuilding, and this is going to be something you want to do moving forward. That's almost like either a guy who could go to the national level soon, or he's going to the national level, and it's like then I'd break it out because it is very toxic. Again, you're going to want your liver support supplements in play, kidney support as well. But I mean, I've taken as much as 1 or 2 days before the show. I think I took 60 because I had it with me and I was like, I don't want extras.
Fuck it. I'm not using this all year.
None of my clients will do that. No one else do that.
Hopefully nobody does
that. If you want. I've talked to powerlifters who 60s, they're not like going into a meet, they'll bang 60, 70.
I've heard even worse.
Exactly.
Powerlifters are fucking insane, dude.
I figure if 2 days of it, I'm good.
Yeah. If you think bodybuilding cycles are insane, they definitely can be, but boy, there are a lot of just country fed, give no fucks type powerlifters that are just letting it fly. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I think that's a perfect example of like, are you prepping someone that generally has really good internal health the majority of the year? And then, it's like, hey, we're going to bring this in at 2 weeks out. Did you do a good job of managing that person's health during the prep? Were the orals thoughtful and limited as much as they could be? Because I think at 2 weeks out, you start seeing a visual change, and that could be fine. And for me, I honestly, depending on how the person looks, if you're trying to pull like a Hail Mary, which that shouldn't really be the case, I would start at 20 and you could go to 30 for 1 week, like 1 week at 20, 1 week at 30. But if the person looks really good and, you're just kind of putting a finishing touch on the prep of an advanced person, like you said, somebody that's going to be in the mix to win an overall and go to the national level. I think starting at 10 the first week that you're on it, and then moving it to 20 that final week, you're going to notice a difference. And they should look awesome if all the homework was done prior. It's not going to pull a miracle out of your ass, that's for sure. None of these drugs are. But when you do all your homework and everything was managed really well leading up to it, they do make a difference. That's why bodybuilders have been taking this stuff for 40 years at this point.
I will say at 20, I didn't notice anything
aggression wise,
good or bad.
Really?
30, well, I'm sure there was good things happening. I just
yeah.
The blur. But at 30,
yeah,
especially the pre-workout, because I would split it 10, 10, 10 throughout the day. That pre-workout, like at 30 milligrams a day, and then that pre-workout dose, I noticed that like I just wanted to smash people's head in the gym with a plate. And I'm not like that, honestly. That was something that I can definitely relate to. I don't even get like that on trend. That was purely Halo related for me.
Yep.
My point is, if you know you're a hothead, proceed with caution. Halo might not be for you if you have a short fuse. Same thing with trend. Like some drugs just aren't for certain people based off their reactions and responses to them. I'm chill on trend. Like for me, trend is ambition. I get really like work focused and oriented. And I mean, I might have a shorter fuse and have to think before I respond a couple times a day, but Halo was like, wow, everyone makes me want to be violent right now. This is not a good place to be.
See, so my experience is very similar. And then my thinking then, though, because of that is a little different. I have always taken it and recommended it. Take the entire thing an hour before you train. Because I think about it, and man, I think if I just had that in my blood all day, like spread out across 3 different things, like I'm probably not going to make it to the show because I'm going to be in prison. So let me just take it right before I go to the gym. And then 2, I think maybe then just hearing your experience, I think maybe you might be able to get away with a little bit less because you're just knocking it all out at once. So I take that 20 milligrams an hour before I go train. And like you said, like it's a good time to take it because you're going to want to be very aggressive about something. So, make it something you can be legally aggressive about in terms of going and training. But yeah, oral wise, I think that's probably a good. I think that could probably be mixed in 2 different scenarios. One at the beginning, like you talked about, like almost interchangeably with the D-ball. And then I think in a rare instance where if you, and I think you and I might be examples of candidates for it, where if you have somebody that's peeled ahead of time, and not only peeled like they got the body fat off, but they are a dry body type. And maybe you're just struggling to fill them out, or the amount of food that it's going to take to fill them out could possibly cause like gut distension. That could be a time at the very end for 3 days before a show, you could bring Anadrol in.
Yeah. I've heard of people doing that. I've never done it.
I haven't either, but I'm just talking through it.
Yeah. I've used it. The only time I've used Anadrol has actually been in an off season.
Me too.
So it was stupid in the sense of I had no appetite.
Yeah.
Man, the strength and the performance was out of this world.
Yeah.
That's actually didn't really have any negatives with, but I was only like you said, the devil's in the dose. I was only taking 25. Every guy thinks like 50 is the standard for D-ball. I'm like, dude, that is a grip of D-ball. Same with Anadrol. Like I think good Anadrol, you should probably only need like 25.
I've always done at least 50.
Yeah, I did 50 of Anadrol.
Yeah.
And I only wanted to eat like my pre-workout meal. After that, it was like
I was doing a fuck ton of shakes in the off season when I was on Anadrol. because I'm like, you know what, let me just slug this back. I just need to get it down. But I was just like a high blood pressure, watery psycho mess. So
I think Superdrol could probably be in the same camp as Anadrol. I've heard of guys using that to fill out the last, or in using it like we just talked about with Halo, like they'll start it a couple weeks out. Again, it would have to be someone who isn't super estrogenic, super watery, because Superdrol is very estrogenic.
Yeah.
So I've used Superdrol once. It helps with performance for sure. You definitely feel like an ox in the gym for that session.
That's actually one I've never come across. Never used it myself. I don't know how many other actual anabolic steroids that I could mention that I haven't at least tried, but that's one of them.
I just somehow came to acquire it once and it worked out. But yeah, I think that's it for orals.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you want to do physiques, or you want to talk more contest cycle tips or tricks? Or I mean, it's all pretty straightforward. I feel like the orals are where you can get a little not only aggressive, but there's a lot of different ways to do it. Otherwise, I mean, the injectables are not going to be very different, other than, it seems everybody uses tren and contest prep. I would say, just for anybody listening, at the very least, if you're not going to do it the whole prep, at the very least, I would say at probably 8 or 6 weeks out, I would start pinning all of your injectables on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a little tip. It's a way to reduce the volume of your individual shots. And then mentally, we're so volatile at that point because of the low body fat, the high output, the low food, the drugs, all this different stuff. That's a good way to try to just normalize everything and keep it level. I'm a fan of it all year. I do all my shots all year daily. But if you're not someone that's into that, I get it, but it is worth it doing it as you get down into the dog days of prep. It's worth it to do it all daily.
Yeah, I typically stick to every other day until probably I'm close enough to the show to where the doses are just too high.
Yeah.
That's not even lying. Like with the shorter esters and the doses you get to when you get up the ladder, as far as, how long you've been bodybuilding and where you want to take bodybuilding. I mean, what are your goals with bodybuilding? If it's just to do a show or two in your life and then call it quits, and you're already, in your 30s, upper 30s, whatever, you got kids and you want to be a family man, maybe your use will be a lot different than mine. And that's fine. That's just important to be honest with yourself and your coach about, and to work with a coach who's going to be understanding of that. I assess the client, like, what are we doing here? What are you want to be doing this in 5 years? And if they can't make me convinced that the answer is yes, I'm probably not going to push them the same way I would push someone who can convince me of that. And then
that person might not need oral steroids at all during a prep.
I just mean cycle in general. Like it could, I mean, my first prep that I was on gear for, all I did was test and Winstrol.
Yeah.
That was all I ran.
I ran more, both in terms of total milligrams and orals, for my first prep than I ever have since, which is not the way to do it.
That's awesome though. Looking back.
Safe to say I was not a pleasure to be around at that point. But yeah, I think that's a pretty decent summary, at least quick hitter in terms of contest prep judges. We can do some physique critiques. I had the group pulled up, so let me share this. See what we got. Okay. So the most recent one that we have not gotten to, or like the one that was first posted that we haven't been to yet, because we did Cody last. So we have George Cooper, second show back in April of this year, stage weight 222 at 5'9", 27 years old, open bodybuilding, trained 11 years, mostly for strongman and powerlifting. Only been focusing on bodybuilding for a year and a half. Didn't get all the poses. Let me see. Also added a comparison. Wow, 34 pounds of stage weight in exactly a year. Let's see this comparison. Man, he was hard too. So 34 pounds a year and still come in this shape. That's a fucking insane year.
Before we critique, I don't remember your initial post that's pinned in the group off the top of my, is it contest photos only for submission, or can they
No,
submit? Okay.
no, no.
So anybody listening, you don't have to submit your, because you might be a lot better than your most recent contest, is why I asked that. So
Yeah.
if you want to submit those pudgy off-season photos, do that if it's like been a year since your last show or more. But I just wanted to clarify that, because I think I had somebody ask me that.
No, yeah. Post up wherever you're at, whatever you want us to review.
But George, first of all, I follow this guy on Instagram and he trains like an absolute animal.
Yeah.
Respect, dude. You have some insane pulling power, your squats, I think he military presses like 350.
Pressing is wild, dude. Yeah.
So yeah, dude. Respect on that front.
And it looks like it.
Yeah, yeah. Funny how that works.
This is an awesome shot for him too. I think it's super complete. There's a lot of guys that have come over from powerlifting or strength sports, and they just never quite looked like bodybuilders. But for George to only be in this a year and a half, it's only his second show. He's still a young guy, 27 years old. I don't think that that's the case at all. He's got a good midsection. He's got good like sweep to his shoulders. He's got good legs. I think in this shot, it just looks like his arms could probably be bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, arms, forearms especially too.
Yeah. But this is a really good shot. This is a powerful shot for him. This is a good shot too. Again, like this is not, I've seen some pretty ugly front double biceps from guys that came from powerlifting. This is pretty good. Even with like the crunched midsection, I think this winds up looking pretty good on him. He's got like a pretty dense chest here. I think, oddly enough, I think with how strong his overhead pressing is, I would say I would just like to see more on this top shelf, like both the front delt and the bicep. I think he didn't really do his arms any favors, like not being able to externally rotate it as much. So he's probably got more tricep than what he's shown. But I think from this shot, the only critique that I would have is maybe a little bit more here and then the arms. But the midsection looks good. The taper looks good. The chest looks thick. Legs look good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it might even come down to just getting some body work on the teres to help those lats out, and then externally rotate the shoulders to get the arms to show more, so the triceps can be more visible.
And it might show more front delt when you do that too. This might peak more when he does that.
Yeah, I bet from the side, if you were to look at him posing, his arm is probably, his hand is in front of his elbow.
Yes.
And you want to crank those things back. So it might just be a posing fix too.
I agree. Otherwise, a good shot though. And this kind of confirms what you were saying, because the arms and the delts from the side look good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see here? Anything critique wise? I mean, I think he did a pretty good job posing. There's really no gaps. He turned a pretty good amount, so it's got like a good taper across. Good rear delts.
Yeah, I'd like to see more hamstring. He's got some pretty good quads here. I'd like to see more ham, and then you could even argue just more glute too, just a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
But I think with detail for him is probably just going to come from more size, more muscle.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the delts are well developed here. Even I had commented on the arms a couple times, but here at least it looks like it's pretty evenly developed. Good sweep to the tri and the rear delt. Yeah, I think just more hang so that it looks more like a bodybuilding leg here, and that would be good. Back double bicep. What do you think?
Good
adductor. I'll say this, it looks like a guy that pulls heavy ass weight off the floor.
I was going to say there's no shortage of muscle. I really can't critique anything up top. I mean, he's got a lot of thickness in his back. And there's really no gaps. Like usually, like with me, I can see gaps, but I guess you could argue with posing, fixing the posing and mobility, he could probably get a little bit more width out of his lats and some better external rotation. But I would say, the lower half could probably just be more conditioned than more hamstring.
Yeah. Yeah, I would the only thing that jumps out at me at this, and a little bit like too in the side shot, I think he probably could have just been more conditioned, like just pull a little bit more off and it would have looked really sharp. But it's in a lot of these shots, it kind of just feels like it's all there. And then now it's just a matter of like, reading his story. It's just a matter of living like a bodybuilder for time, and it's all going to come. This is insanity, though.
Yeah, that's very, very thick. That's a lot of muscle.
It is a lot of muscle. Even like the adductor, like this is like very complete, like you said. Again, if I had to point anything out, I'm a broken record. I think just more, and we see this when guys from powerlifting come over because he probably wasn't doing a ton of direct arm work. But I think he could just fill this whole shot out top to bottom, left to right with just more arm. I don't know if I don't know what he's doing training wise, but I think he's a perfect example of somebody that would probably be well served with an arm day, because to try to make up for the time that he probably wasn't doing arms. Front lat. Man, his midsection is like really well developed, and his chest is thick as fuck, man. We had a lot of guys on here, including ourselves, that need a thicker chest. That's not the case here.
Now, this is a pretty complete shot.
Yeah.
I guess the delts.
Yeah.
I think a lot of his issues is probably shoulder mobility. And I've noticed that's a common thing in powerlifting.
Yeah.
If you banged in those strength sports for years, it's almost inevitable that your shoulders took a beating.
Yeah.
So, prioritizing getting some body work and getting those things opened up, that pec minor, the teres, serratus, getting all those things worked on, I think is going to help him a lot with posing, but also with training then too.
Yeah.
This shot is, this is dense.
It is dense. I'd like to see him just for comparison, or just to see for my own interest what his legs might look like from the front if he just stood his feet a little closer. He's got good adductors, so he's standing them wide and they still touch, so it looks good. I just wonder how they might look. I think he probably could use a little more quad sweep, like just more volume training like a bodybuilder. Again, same thing, like to the limbs, the arms, and the legs. You probably use a little more volume, but really good top to bottom. And I think we're back to the front here, but yeah, this is good. This is what I was talking about. We see a lot of guys that use like or have moved heavy weights or come from powerlifting, and they just end up having like a kind of a wide blocky midsection. This is tight, man. This is bodybuilding. This is a bodybuilding midsection.
Yeah, I wonder if he never got super heavy either as a powerlifter.
True. Yeah. Back lat. I see this and it's just a ton of muscle. And like you said, I think the big thing that jumps out at me is like his lack of shoulder mobility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he could pop that thing out 2 more inches on each side.
He could. But he's got the tools for bodybuilding. It's cool to see him make the shift that he did, especially still being young. Like he's not even in his prime yet in terms of age for bodybuilding. So he'll have time. He probably, just guessing, he probably doesn't have tons of injuries then. He probably saved himself. But like these tie-ins, the development of the lower lats, the erectors, the traps, everything is really good. This is good too. I almost wonder if the lighting didn't really do him much justice either, because maybe he could have been darker, because it looks like this side leg has a lot of conditioning and it's a little washed out. That's a good shot.
Yeah. No,
George is good. This is a good physique, man. This is really good. Let me back in on this. Oh, this is this comparison shot. Man, bro, this looks like 5 years of progress.
He ate his old self.
Yeah. And to his credit, like I think one of the big ones that the 2 big critiques that I had were the arms and then the legs. And my God, he added a ton to his arms and his legs in 1 year.
Yeah. So at that rate, bro, you might just need to keep doing what
Just
you've
keep
been
doing what you've been
Give
doing.
more
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
Because even if you only got half as much progress next year, I mean, you're going to be filled out.
Yeah. Man, and kudos too. Like it looks like there was maybe an injury or like an imbalance here in the first shot with this right leg. And then they look pretty damn even in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, respect. Respect to George. I follow him too. Trains like a fucking absolute animal, and it looks like it. Yeah, this is a wild comparison. Man. Good work, man. Really, really impressive. If you told me this was, like I said, 4 or 5 years of progress, I would believe you. I mean, 34 pounds of stage weight. Is that what he said? 30 something? 34 pounds?
I mean, he jumped classes
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that's a Justin Harris client right there. That's proofs in the pudding with what Justin's always talking about.
Former DC guy.
Nice. Man, respect. That's a hell of a year of progress and a really good physique this year that you brought, man. So yeah, like Tommy said, I think probably just doing the same shit you've been doing, and you'll be even better next year. I think it's cool that you went back and did the same show too, just for just a flat year of progress to compare. Next up, Rachel Irons. I know this is one of your clients, right? This is one of your like OG clients.
Yeah, we've been together a while.
Women's physique, 27 years old, 5'7". She was 134. I know adding more size to my frame will most likely be the feedback. Anything is appreciated. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really follow the ladies, so I don't know how much feedback wise I'm gonna have. I would agree. It just seems like she probably just needs to be bigger.
Yeah, so Rachel's 5'7" for context, which is pretty tall for a female in this division. So it's just a matter of filling out the frame. A lot of what we talk about on the podcast is just build the foundation.
She's got good flow to her physique.
Yeah, for a first show, she was very comfortable on stage, a lot of stage poise.
Oh, this was her first show. Respect.
Yeah, presented
She does
very
look good.
well.
I think from my eye and not knowing the female side as well, this probably looks like it needs to come up the most.
Yep. Yep, and she spent, since then pulling from the floor. Just a lot of focus on bang for your buck movements, just getting strong.
Yeah.
A lot of what we talk about with ourselves and our own journeys right now doesn't really apply to someone like this or younger that's, you're in your first 5 years of bodybuilding. You just probably need to spend a lot of time getting strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't miss meals, nail the basics. I mean, male or female, like those things hold true in terms of just building muscle tissue. And that's what she needs from my eyes. She's got good shape, good flow to the physique. She's always commenting on her stuff. It seems like she's all in and wants to learn. So she couldn't really be doing better in terms of the help that she's gotten from you. So, in terms of building up the size with the basics in general, and then especially like building up that back, I think having you in her corner, that's a good one. Respect.
Yeah,
I didn't realize this was her first show. She does look very, very good, very poised on stage.
Yeah, good abs, good delts, good separation.
Yeah.
Just
It's a clean look too, like
everything will get
clean
better with
separation.
muscles. So
Yeah. Yeah, just get bigger. JJ Schelling didn't really give us much. 5'4", 176, currently in prep. I think he posted something later too that said that he was 4 weeks out because he didn't say that here, but so 4 weeks out, 5'4", 176. What do you think, Tommy?
man, it's tough to give a guy a critique when he's in prep because he can't. The only thing you can really improve on is conditioning, but
Yeah.
Hey, he submitted it. So, side try, he's got good chest density. I'll just put it out there, buddy. You need to get some help with your posing before your show, because you're not doing yourself any favor with your presentation here.
Yeah.
Outside of that, good legs in the side try. Calves are monstrous.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
one of your best body parts. So good density in the chest. I think your arm will look better in the side tricep with just changing the posing, but
Yep.
delt separation from the tricep, you actually got a good rear delt. It looks like most people are pretty flat there. Long-term critique, I mean, you just need more muscle, but you got your obliques are showing, so looks like you're going to need to dig pretty hard for condition.
Yeah.
So pedal to the metal the rest of the way into the show. Bring your best, come in peeled, or as peeled as you can get, and take it from there. Back shot, I think improving the posing will help pop those lats out a bit more.
Yeah.
But I would make the focus of my off season pulling heavy things from the floor, or just bending over with heavy weight in your hands. Looking like you're going to be lacking in thickness, but pretty good rear delts, even in the back shot too. Delts
Yeah.
are good.
I think his arms look good here in this shot too.
Good bicep peak, yeah. So
Yeah.
Really figure out which best movements are best for your back, but also, don't try to reinvent the wheel, and get a barbell in your hands and pick it up every week.
Yeah. I know JJ, and he's no stranger to heavy lifts with a barbell, but if I had one critique in terms of what I've seen from his training, it's that he needs to spend more time doing that in bodybuilding rep ranges. He loves to just kind of go in and sling it for a 1 rep max, or a set of 1 or 2. And it just, you're going to need more to grow the tissue. At least for me in these 2 shots, pretty much everything that Tommy said. In terms of the physique, I mean, I think just being bigger, more developed will be good. I think he was 5 weeks out here, 4 weeks out, something like that. So the big one for me, and not to knock you, but this is going to be tough. Like Tommy said, I think this this is not the timeline I would be super comfortable with. Like, this is going to be should be a rough couple 4 or 5 weeks if you're going to bring it in like really hard stage conditioning. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely some good positives. The delts are good. I think the arms are good. Chest is good in this shot. The side leg is good. I think in terms of this year, it really is just going to come down to conditioning for him. So, pedal to the floor the last couple of weeks. Front lat, front double. What do you think, buddy?
These are good poses for him structurally, actually.
Yeah, agreed.
Obviously, the arms could be better in the front double, but thick chest.
Yeah.
You can see the outlines of the abs. So I think ultimately just peeling back layers and coming in, next prep probably want to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Not being in this spot 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
But good quads. Could use a bit more adductor. So
agreed.
You want to have a wider base there, but you've got good sweep, especially up into the hip. Yep. And again, better conditioning, it's only going to emphasize your structure. So front relaxed, first one the judges see. Looks like pretty good delt to delt width. I like where you have as far as the bend in your arms, I would just drop your shoulders so they're not up by your ears. Yeah. Because you got a thick enough chest. So just relax those shoulders, try to show a little bit of trap while keeping that elevated chest. But that'll be a good shot for you, especially when you add, more adductor and fill out the bottom a little more, because your quads are strong. So these are 2 poses that are definitely, you'll be doing well from the front at making those improvements. And then, like I said, I think conditioning just has to be more of a priority next prep.
Yeah. Yeah, these shots are great, and we know how heavily they weigh these shots, the front relax, the front double.
Uh-huh.
I would agree, like with how good the quad sweep is, it almost just pulls your eyes to this gap in the middle where there needs to be more adductor. But in the here and now, if he listens to this, I think he probably could just do himself a favor by standing his feet closer or trying to make it an emphasis to touch these, because the sweep is there. So even if you have to stand them a little closer, it will make you look more complete instead of pulling our eyes to this gap in the middle of your legs. And then same thing, just bring these down a little bit. I'm good with like you said, the bend in the arms makes his arms look thick, and he's got really good delts. He's got a thick chest. The shape of, like, I think depressing his shoulders will actually make this pop more too, like these lats to the armpit. And then maybe same thing here, just actively like pull these down a little bit. And then it does look like maybe I almost wonder if it's a posing thing, because his biceps and the back double look good. And then they're a little flat here. You know, he could just be flat. He's 4 or 5 weeks out, whatever it is. But yeah, these front two shots are really good quads, like you said. So I think next time just get ahead of the game, come in ready early, and then you'll be able to eat up into the show and really highlight your strengths. But that
And
was
the front double, take those wrists and crank them back to the wall behind you, and you might get a bit more peak out of the biceps there.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. So that's JJ. Those were the only 4 shots he submitted. So thanks for the submission. And then what do you think? One more?
Yeah, we can do one more.
Dakota Gautier, I'm guessing. Hopefully that's correct. 27 years old, 6 feet tall, 240 pounds, never competed, looking to do a show in the spring or early summer. I talked to Dakota. He's also a Justin Harris guy.
Nice.
So squad's well represented today. What do you think? What jumps out at you for Dakota?
Dude, you probably have one of the best physiques for somebody who's never done a show. If you
Yeah.
told me you already had a couple overalls, I believe you. So
Yeah, same.
real bubbly, man. White bubbly muscle, round cannonball delts. Arms are great, which
Arms are
isn't
good.
something it's not something we've been able to say a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Legs are massive. This is a real good shot for you. I think being 6 foot, it probably is going to look different in person in a lineup. You
Yeah.
need size like
Yeah.
the rest of us taller guys. So, but you got a good head start on it going into your first show. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine the type of guys you see standing in a true novice lineup, and then you stand next to this dude. Don't even
You're
do
like,
this,
fuck
bro.
you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's got a good head start on it, in terms of, like, if this is his current conditioning too. Like, you know, if he's going to do like the early spring, he's not going to have a ton to pull down. I mean, I would guess if this is where he is right now, and they wanted to just hold it or kind of just slowly add from here and then start to pull him down. I mean, we haven't seen him from the back yet, but from the front, I would expect him to be 210 plus if he's 240 right now.
Yeah, 215.
Side chest.
Good sweep to the try. Biceps, a friggin' softball.
Yeah.
If I had to critique, more rear delt, but even that, it just might be being overshadowed by your tricep.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's kind of cocked this elbow back, where, like, I almost wonder if he just lined this up, does this look as round as this does? And it doesn't look even then.
Uh-huh.
I think for me, the big one here is his chest. He's not doing himself any favors with the posing. He's got to rotate more, just the upper body, rotate it more and show us more of this back shoulder and this back pec. But I do think that as a theme, I think he's probably going to need more chest. The sweep of the quad, the sweep of the hamstring, the sweep of the tricep, and even the rear delt, all of that looks really good. This is a good shot for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the leg's big.
I think just probably more chest seeing this. And then I think probably same feedback here. There's a lot of standout, awesome body parts. But we're not just trying to pat you on the back. You have an awesome physique. If there's a couple things that stand out, I think it's probably the chest in this shot for me too. Awesome waist, good lats. The legs are insane.
Yeah. I don't know how big of a fan I am of the vacuum like that. I think it's almost distracting from the physique.
Hmm.
But that's just my preference. I'm not even critiquing you there.
Yeah.
I'd like to
It's
see him
also
do
the lighting
it.
too. That's not what the lighting on stage is going to look like, where it's
Right.
hollowed by the shadows, you know?
Lifting his chest more
Right.
might help here too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe too, if we're just being picky and giving him critiques, at least with the way that he's posing this,
Drop those arms.
drop the arms and like internally rotate a little bit at the shoulder. Like show this thick part of your arm. It will pop more of your side delts. Because we've seen in other shots, you have awesome delts. They shouldn't look this flat in this shot. His legs are nuts, though.
Yeah, that's great. Great development of the legs. This is a real good shot too.
This is damn good. Yeah.
Those are killer arms, man. You usually don't see that with taller guys.
Fuck. Yeah, they're awesome. And he's got good lats too. Like a lot of times we see guys with good limbs where they'll have good arms and good legs, and then the torso doesn't really have it. And even so, those guys can win shows. But he's got good lats. I mean, also I will say he's almost like more with his chest forward here than here. Like he's kind of leaned back here. And then on this front double, he's brought his chest forward and it doesn't look like it's quite as far behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is good. He's one of these guys, man. I feel like at least for right now with where he is, and if he's competing in the spring or whatever, he's never competed. You're going to put a lot of work in to get in shape. I wouldn't hesitate to put this guy in open and classic and get up there as many times as you can, get as many pictures as you can, see where you look best. I mean, to me, he's got open bodybuilder written all over him. He just needs to be bigger for it.
Yeah, he'll need to be at least 240 on stage in the open to at that height.
Yeah. This is good too. He's pretty fucking hard at this like stage. That's what I'm saying. He's got a good head start on the conditioning for having obliques like this, a side leg like this.
Yeah, this probably only needs 14 weeks.
Yeah. 14 weeks of like he'll probably have a refeed cheat meal once a week. Like I would say just bring us that back shoulder a little bit more too. But
Yeah,
it's really good. All these shots are really good. He's super complete. Super balanced, I should say. What do you think about this?
good insertions in his lats. They connect real low. So that makes this shot awesome over time.
Yeah.
Pretty good, honestly, man. Like I think more thickness over time to the back, but you got the rear delt showing in the rear lat spread.
Yeah.
The triceps look good. You're almost blocking out the sun, so to speak, with there's no air almost visible between your forearms and your lats.
Super balanced to the lower body too. Everything is filled out here.
If I critique you, it's just bring up your calves.
Yeah, like all of us.
Same critique for myself.
Like the rest of us. Yeah, this is good, man. If I'm gonna nitpick, I'd say the thickness is good. Maybe a little bit more underneath here. But like you said, the insertions are awesome. I mean, he's got everything to be awesome on stage.
Yeah, more mid back thickness and erectors, like you were just pointing out. But with how freaky the legs are in every shot, that's going to be a strong point for you.
Yeah,
it can almost
honestly, fuck true novice. I would expect this guy, like, unless he's going to some like one of the 5 like super big time, regional level shows. Like I would expect this guy to just walk in and win the overall for bodybuilding and for classic. If he wanted to.
With that kind of muscle maturity, assuming you get in shape,
right. Right.
you're right there. So,
Man, look at these fucking hamstrings. Like he's just like casually a lifestyle off-season guy, and this is what his hamstrings look like.
that's nuts.
It's good shit, man.
He definitely, I mean, you can see he holds more of his body fat on the backside than the front. But
Yeah. Yeah.
even still, I would say 16-week prep if you wanted to be, super cautious and give yourself more time, but you probably only need 14.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good, man. Super impressive. Man, a couple really good physiques today. Appreciate all the submissions.
Younger guys.
Yeah. Yeah, younger guys. Yeah, I think both of those got George and Dakota, I think both 27. Yeah. Fuck, what are we doing? We appreciate it, guys. We appreciate everybody that submitted them. Like I've said previously, we're only going to do a handful of them at a time. I don't know how exciting a lot of these are if you're not if you're a listener and you're not the one getting critiques. So we're going to try and keep them brief and only do a couple of them per episode. But for everybody that has sent one in, we appreciate it. We know the balls it takes to put yourself out there, and we will get to you one way or another, whether you submitted it in the group or a couple of you guys emailed us. We definitely will get to you. But I think that's all for this week. Gave you guys some contest prep tips and insight, a couple physique critiques. So for Tommy Styles, I'm Joseph Pircher. This was the Thinking Man's podcast. Until next time, guys, we are out.